근데 이거 들고 와.
One of the senior pathologists working in the underground facility of a mortuary expresses their dissatisfaction with the hygiene of the space. Due to the fact that the chemicals are covered in dust, he instructs the associate to dispose of them by pouring them down the sink. As a result of the fact that this would be a blatant breach of the law, the man glances at him in disbelief. The chief scientist threatens him with his job, which ultimately results in the man being forced to empty the countless bottles into the sewage system. Over time, people start observing strange species that are found within the lake, but they pay no mind to the potential implications of their actions. A young man has the intention of ending his life by leaping into the river, but just before he does so, he becomes aware of a gigantic shadow that is there within the water. In light of the fact that his other employees are unaware of the threat, he bids them farewell and then goes to dive in on his own. Gongdu is the son of the proprietor of a convenience shop, and he is not very successful at his job because he is constantly falling asleep while working that job. As a result of the fact that his father, Hebong, is dissatisfied with his son, he instructs him to wake up and deal with the customers. Despite the fact that Gongdu is a slacker and a person who is not particularly useful, he has a great deal of affection for his daughter, despite the fact that she, like everyone else, has a very negative image of her father. The two of them sit together in front of the television and cheer for Gongdu's sister, Namju, who is contending for the title of national archery champion. As a startling news flash appears on the screen, it reveals the body of the salaryman from earlier, but half of his body is missing, as if he had been bitten by something before he passed away. Hebong instructs his son to leave the house and return to work, as the customers are expressing dissatisfaction with the orders they have received. While Gongdu is delivering the meal to the villagers, he observes that everyone is staring at the river. When they look under the bridge, they notice a peculiar creature and wonder what it may possibly be. The animal starts to move, and it eventually falls into the surface of the water. Gongdu throws a can of beer at the creature, which it rapidly swallows up and takes with it underwater as the people go further closer to the riverfront. Everyone starts dumping garbage into the river as well, and before long, the creature vanishes, leaving behind nothing but garbage in the water. It is just as Gongdu is about to leave that he notices the enormous creature on the coast, charging at the people and causing them to fall into the river. The creature continues to trample over the onlookers and assault them ferociously, and everyone rushes away in panic as it does so. Unfortunately, Gandu is knocked over by the enormous beast while he is attempting to advise the people to flee. The creature starts to move in the direction of the population center, while everyone else is running away in search of a place to take shelter. As it devours everyone within, the monster charges into a mobile container that is full of people, transforming the shelter into a massive lunchbox in the process. A soldier from the United States of America makes an attempt to rescue the people with Gongdu, but the monster quickly exits the chamber, which is now covered in blood. They pursue the monster and do everything in their power to prevent it from destroying them, but they come dangerously close to losing their lives when the beast inflicts severe wounds on the soldier. Gongdu makes an attempt to help the man by hitting the monster on the tail. However, the attacks are futile since the monster turns around and compels Gongdu to flee as swiftly as possible. As Hyun makes her way outside of the convenience store in search of her father, she discovers that everyone else has vanished. While Gongdu is in the midst of the pandemonium, he realizes that he has grabbed the wrong person instead of his daughter. He hurriedly grabs his daughter and rushes for safety. Upon turning back, the guy is confronted with the sight of the monster charging towards his daughter and stealing her away. After jumping into the river, the creature swims to the opposite bank of the river. Gongdu makes an attempt to pursue the daughter, but he is unable to capture her and watches helplessly as she is submerged in water. While the militaries are on their way to block off the location, the people are grieving the loss of their loved ones and attending a massive community burial that is taking place within the shelter. As a result of hearing of the passing of his niece, Namael, Hyun's uncle, also enters with tears in his eyes. The members of the family embrace one another as they fall to the ground in a state of grief. However, rather than assisting them, the reporters from the news media encircle them and begin to take pictures of them as if they were vultures. A government employee dressed in a biohazard suit arrives to greet the population and inquires about those individuals who had direct contact with the creature. Despite the fact that the people are reluctant to admit their involvement, some of them, including Gongdu, continue to raise their hands in response to repeated questions because they are terrified of being punished legally. There is an increase in the number of workers wearing yellow suits who are entering the building in an effort to quarantine the family. Despite the fact that Gongdu's family begs them to stop, they take him away against their will. It turned out that the American soldier who assisted Gongdu was able to survive the attack by the monster. Nevertheless, he quickly grew ill after becoming infected with a virus that the monster carries. As a result of the government's decision to reduce the size of its military forces, specialized teams that have been trained to deal with virus outbreaks are being deployed. At the same time, Gongdu and his family arrived at the hospital. However, they were taken aback by the absence of quarantine procedures, as even the medical professionals were not wearing masks. In the middle of the night, the father receives a phone call from his daughter, whom he recognizes without hesitation. At the same time that the rest of the family is waking up, Gongdu makes an attempt to inquire about her location. However, the signal suddenly stops working. Humans are still being attacked by the monster, which is killing the people who are working in the quarantine area and taking them back to its home in the sewers, where it is storing them as food for later use. An examination of the worker that the monster dragged in is performed by Hyun, who emerges stealthily from within the aperture of a drainage system. However, the worker passes away from drowning as he spits water out of his lungs. It is possible for the young lady to locate a mobile phone on the body, but due to the fact that it has been immersed in the river, it is no longer operational. Upon returning to the hospital, Gongdu makes an effort to persuade the law enforcement officer that his daughter is still alive. However, the officer believes that the man is insane and requests that the physician conduct a psychiatric evaluation on him. Upon coming to the realization that his daughter would start starving in the near future, the family makes an attempt to sneak out of the hospital, but they are quickly recognized due to Gongdu's having blonde hair. They hurry in the direction of the elevator, and then they enter the parking garage, where a vehicle that is driven by criminals has been coordinated to pick them up. Despite the fact that the police officer is frantically pursuing them on foot, the family is able to successfully flee the hospital. After the escape, the gangsters demand a significant sum of money from the elderly guy in exchange for rescuing them. In addition, they provide them firearms and a government car so that they may fit in with their surroundings. They are driving near a police checkpost and attempting to pass through it, but a police captain recognizes them as wanted escapees from the hospital. Hee-bong has no alternative but to hand them all of his savings. In the absence of any other option, Hee-bong resorts to bribing the officer with the last of the money that they have available. Namael complains that they will never find his niece this way because they are looking blindly, but his sister tells him to stop complaining because they have no other options. The family begins searching for Hyun inside every sewer system that they find on the maps that they were given. However, the area is too large to cover, and they have no idea where the girl is that they are looking for. All of a sudden, the family becomes aware of something moving in front of them, and they immediately prepare their firearms to fire. When Namju feels water dripping on her from the ceiling, they fire many bullets, only to conclude that it was nothing more than a trickle of water. On the other hand, it is discovered that there are two additional boys hidden next to the walls, and after coming dangerously close to being killed by the family, they manage to squeeze out of the sewers. The older brother makes the decision to take food from the closest convenience shop, which turns out to be the one that Gongdu owns on the beach. The two brothers are homeless, and the older brother is the one who makes the decision. The younger child, Siju, also has the intention of stealing their money, but his brother prevents him from doing so and explains to him that this would be inappropriate because they are just taking things that they require in order to exist. After robbing the storage facility, they make their way out of the building with bags of food, only to be confronted by the monster that is approaching them from beneath the bridge. Despite the fact that the monster is following them closely behind, the two lads make a hasty retreat in the direction of the shelter, where they are desperately trying to save their lives. As Hebong returns to their store a few seconds later, he discovers that the doors have been pushed open against their will. Despite the fact that he does not pay any attention to it, the family continued to have their supper while imagining that Hyun was also present with them. In the meantime, the young lady is attempting to stay alive by collecting water from the sewers. However, she discovers that the monster is getting closer and immediately pretends that she is dead. The creature delivers the boys that he had taken earlier, and Hyun observes that the younger sibling is still alive after the thing has stopped. In an effort to save the boy and shield him from the monster, she does everything in her power. After a period of time, Gongdu becomes aware of the monster that is standing outside their store. Meanwhile, the father makes an attempt to shoot the monster, but finally fails to do so. During the time that the father is continuing to fire his gun, it charges towards them and starts to exert pressure on the structure, eventually turning the entire place upside down. When the creature finally came to a stop, the family went outside, only to find it laying on the ground, suffering from what appeared to be injuries caused by the gunfire. An attempt is made by the uncle to shoot the creature, which causes it to flee in the direction of the river while the family continues their pursuit. As the beast leaps into the river, however, they quickly run out of shots despite their best efforts. I know you are enjoying this thrilling, monstrous recap, so I won't interrupt. Just hit that subscribe button and let me know of your excitement. Thanks. Let's continue. Hebong instructs everyone to remain in the same location while Gandu hands the rifle that contains the final bullet to his father. The monster starts swimming back towards the family, and Namju tries to kill it with her arrows. The monster charges at the elderly man, and he fires the gun. However, it turns out that Gongdu made a mistake in his calculations, and there was nothing left to shoot. Hebong turns around and calmly instructs his family to elude him. As everyone watches helplessly, it smashes Hebong to the ground by grabbing him by the leg and bringing him to the ground. Gongdu races towards the lifeless corpse of the father and cries out in pain, but they are unable to remain there for an extended period of time because the police are also heading in this direction. He then proceeds to cover his father's face with newspaper while telling his siblings to flee in order to find Hyun. He does this in order to accomplish his goal. Gongdu makes an attempt to flee as well, but he is unable to triumph over his grief and is consequently taken into custody by the law enforcement agents. At night, the uncle seeks assistance from his friend who works for the phone company. The friend is called by the uncle. In order to locate the last call that Hyun made, they sneak inside the office building and begin searching for it. They were successful in locating her, but shortly thereafter, the friend went into the manager's office and disclosed that he had betrayed the man by contacting the authorities in order to earn the money that was offered as a bounty. Namael notices that he is being pursued by a group of individuals, and he promptly shuts off the lights, so escaping from the office and preventing his pursuers from entering. In spite of his successful escape from the building, he discovers that the authorities are also after him. While he is in a state of fear, he manages to avoid being discovered by jumping beneath the bridge. Before ultimately passing out from the shock of the fall, the uncle makes a phone call to the sister and sends a text message to the position of Hyun. When Namju sees the message that her brother has sent, she immediately makes a beeline for the sewer where her niece is located. During the time that she is calling Gongdu to inform him of her whereabouts, she goes under the bridge and towards the entrance. Suddenly, She notices the creature approaching her and makes an attempt to shoot it. However, she is knocked over into the ditches, which fortunately stops the beast from reaching her. Ganda makes an attempt to flee the hospital after being informed about the location of his daughter, but he is prevented from doing so by the healthcare professionals who continue to subject him to excruciating trials. The most prominent researcher admits that there is no virus, and that the government is merely exploiting it as a means of diverting people's attention away from the reality of where the monster came from. As a result of Ganda's ability to overhear their talk, the medical professionals decide to lobotomize the individual in order to silence him. On the other hand, Hyun is attempting to reassure the young kid by asking him to consider what they will eat once they get the opportunity to leave the building. When she is finished, she ties a police baton to the end of the rope that she has created out of the victim's garments. Using the rope that she has thrown onto the platform, the young lady is able to construct a rope ladder. They are compelled to go into hiding since the monster returns before they have the opportunity to flee. As the beast begins to spew up the bones of all of the persons that it has swallowed, the two individuals watch in horror. The monster takes note of the youngsters and makes an attempt to capture them, but as they are hiding behind the walls, he is unable to do so. While this is going on, Gongdu is holding a doctor prisoner as he runs to the exterior of the building, only to discover that the officers are unwinding and barbecuing as if they were on holiday. After threatening to kill the captive, he seizes a vehicle and makes a mad dash in the direction of the position where his daughter is located. In addition, Namael returns to consciousness after being rescued by a homeless man, and he is successful in persuading him to assist in the rescue of his niece. For the purpose of preparing to fight the monster to the death, they make use of alcohol bottles and prepare a large number of Molotov cocktails. After seeking refuge from the monster's assaults, Hyun emerges from his hiding place and observes that the boy is becoming ill. She takes a quick glance outside and notices that the monster is sound asleep. The young lady makes an attempt to flee in the direction of the ropes, but she is swiftly attacked by the beast, which captures her and places her back on the ground. During the time that the monster is pursuing them from behind, she also notices the youngster outside and rushes towards him in an attempt to save his life. When Gongdu finally makes it to the nest, he discovers that it is stuffed with bones and that his daughter is nowhere to be seen. At that moment, he suddenly notices the monster passing by him from the top with an arm hanging from its mouth. He then decides to chase the monster with his sister, who is also woken up at that point. The monster is swimming in the river towards the gathering of protesters on the shore, who are complaining about the quarantine and the unlawful experiments. They follow the monster as it swims closer to the coast. The people, however, immediately become aware of the monster approaching them and flee the location in terror as they make their way out of the region. At the same time that the military is positioning the chemicals closer to the monster, the cops start firing at the thing as it climbs on land. In the process of the creature struggling in pain, they release the gas into the region, which causes it to get stunned. Gongdu makes a beeline for the jaws of the monster and makes an attempt to save his daughter from it. It is only after he has successfully extracted the girl, who is still clinging to the boy that she was attempting to protect, that he comes to the realization that his daughter has passed away a very long time ago. Gongdu carries the girl towards the family, and they cry as they embrace Hyun's lifeless body. The man decides to take vengeance for his daughter and begins attacking the monster with a metal pole. Namael tries to help Oswell and throws the Molotov cocktails at the monster, chasing it away, but is not able to land any direct hits. While the creature looks in bewilderment, the homeless man sneaks up on top of it and begins pouring petrol on it, and then continues to do so. As Namju prepares her arrow, which she had already set ablaze, she fires it at the monster, which causes it to be engulfed in flames. During a moment of turmoil, the monster makes an attempt to run back into the sea, but Gongdu, who was hidden behind the posts, stabs it to death, causing it to ultimately die. As Gongdu, who is in the process of burning, notices that the boy his daughter was attempting to rescue is still alive, he drags him to safety while he watches at the aftermath of the turmoil. The creature falls down with its final breath and dies. Occasionally, after some time has passed, Gongdu has adopted the youngster as if he were his own son, and the two of them are having dinner together as the news media criticizes the activities of the government. Even though snow is falling, They continue to live in the convenience store that is located by the river. This is a clear indication that winter is on its way. It would be great if you could share your thoughts on this film with me in the comment section below. I hope you enjoy my video. And if you do, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one.